Hi everyone. One of these things is not like the other. I'm totally aware of that fact. So I'm just here because we did have two different MLAs who were interested in presenting this, who were involved in the Wild Salmon Advisory Council, but today is the throne speech for the province. So they had a very good reason not to be here. They would like to have been here. I was a member of the Wild Salmon Advisory Council, and so I was sort of the obvious backup choice to just give you a quick overview of that council's process and the report that came out of it. And the reason for including that today is that in addition to the role the federal government plays, the province plays a critical role in how fisheries move forward. And as you heard Corky say in a very inspired way last night, that there is a limited window, but a very strong window for opportunity to engage the province on this. And the province is quite friendly to the issues in the fishery, but they definitely need some help and motivation to figure out what their role is going to be in this. So the Wild Salmon Advisory Council, do a quick background. Wow, that's hard to see. So the Wild Salmon Advisory Council was launched in June of 2018, and 14 members were appointed by the Premier. They represented a broad range of interests in the fishery, Indigenous, commercial, recreational, processing, NGO, and community interests and issues. And the point of this council was to provide input and advice during the strategic development process for the wild salmon strategy. So this objective was the objective as stated by the province. So this was the province's objective. I'm also going to give you the objectives the council came up with in their own words once they went through this process. But the province's objective was to provide recommendations to the province in the development of the Made in BC wild salmon strategy, focusing on A, restoration and enhancement of wild salmon populations, 2, sustainable fisheries management and stewardship opportunities for communities, and 3, new economic development opportunities to assist a viable and sustainable community-based fisheries. And what I just want to draw your attention to here, that's really important, is that even though this was a wild salmon strategy, and this was a top priority for the government, and obviously for the coast, it was not just about salmon. There were also components within this strategic process that were looking and reflecting on fisheries generally for the province. So quickly, the process, which I won't spend a lot of time on boring on, but initially there was an options paper developed, and there was a breakdown of research and expert consultants that put in information related to the different objectives of the Wild Salmon Advisory Council, and a strategy started to be mapped out based on that options paper. Then it went to a public engagement process, and there were a lot of public meetings and stakeholder meetings and opportunities for input and interviews and sessions, both collectively with the public and individually with interest groups, and First Nations engagement to collect input on that options paper and to revise it, move it towards a more appropriate cohesive strategy. Then the options paper and report on public engagement were combined and developed into a strategic framework. And so I'm going to give you just a sort of high-level outcome of that strategic framework. And then the fourth phase, of course, was to move into some sort of investment commitment to realize that framework. So I'm going to quickly give you now the objectives that ended up in the final report from the council. So, and I think the reason I want to highlight this is you'll see that the language the Wild Salmon Advisory Council came up with all the interest groups involved, is not dissimilar to the kind of language that we've been hearing over the last day and the work that was done with the focal committee around ensuring that fisheries benefit communities and their economies in addition to being healthy ecosystems and there for future generations. So the council members agreed collectively that a Made in BC wild salmon strategy would help set the stage for improved marine and freshwater ecosystems in BC and for benefits to communities and their economies. And to achieve that, the goals were to support and enable the return of abundant salmon, to promote economic renewal and reconciliation with BC's Indigenous peoples, to rebuild a formidable local fisheries economy with sustainable jobs and prosperous businesses across the seafood spectrum. So again, we're not just talking about salmon here, including active fishers, seafood processing, and ancillary businesses. And then the final two, to champion community access to and benefit from adjacent fisheries resources, to support local employment, food security, and economic development, and to support responsible, sustainable, and safe fishing. So those were the objectives, and then the strategy was divided into goals. And then if anyone wants a copy of the report to understand what the actual recommendations were, they're available. So under each goal, there were a suite of recommendations that were either listed as near term, midterm, or immediate. And I'm not going to go through all of this because I don't want to take up a ton of time. But the first goal was to increase the abundance of wild salmon. And there were a number of goals under that around increasing abundance, a number of recommendations. Goal 2 is to protect and enhance the economic, social, and cultural benefits that accrue to BC communities from wild salmon and other fisheries, placing emphasis on adjacency. And goal 3 was to develop mechanisms, processes, practices, and structures to engage citizens and governments in the effective stewardship and management of wild salmon. So what I just want to quickly zoom in on, because it's really relevant to the conversation that we're having today, is that within goal 2, these are some of the strategies that were recommended. Because within goal 2, where we're looking at protecting and enhancing economic, social, and cultural benefits, we felt it was very important to elevate the decisions and the discussions about using strategic enhancement opportunities. So there's been a lot of conversation and identification in this room and other rooms around the need to start looking at enhancement opportunities. And that is a hot topic in a lot of rooms, but this council felt that that needs to be explored. The second strategy was to develop and implement a strategic employment plan, focus wherever possible on new opportunities for local communities and Indigenous peoples. And that is not just looking at opportunities in an enhancement of stewardship habitat, but also addressing the succession issue in the broader commercial fishery, which we've been hearing a lot about. Then the last two, enhance local, social, cultural, and economic benefits for adjacent communities. There is a bunch of language in there about the province playing an active role in developing their own vision for fisheries in BC and engaging directly with the federal government on how they can play a significant role in realizing that vision, including and not the least of which was engaging with the standing committee and the outcomes of the FOCO report. And then finally, to encourage economic activity adjacent to fishing grounds to benefit coastal and rural fishing communities, Indigenous people, shore workers, and ancillary businesses. And so this was, again, looking not just at jobs at the fleet level and encouraging economic activity there, but also thinking about how do we get our processing jobs back into our communities and stop them from flying out of our adjacent communities and even out of the country, and get some of that work, the broader demographic benefit back to our local communities. So the last thing I'll just say, and I'm going to end on this note so people know though, and Lana mentioned it, so what the province did after that was commit to 30% of a $140 million fund over 5 years to support these objectives. My reflection and opinion on that is that they've done a lot of work and approved a lot of projects already around some of the earlier goals around habitat restoration. And those have been really good, important projects, but what there has not been a lot of work on and commitment to is the goal that I just explained in a little bit more detail around social, cultural, and economic benefits for adjacent communities. And what I've been hearing consistently from folks in the province is they get it, they support it, they don't feel well equipped to move ahead with it, and there's not enough public pressure to do it. So if they're going to engage and they're going to act and they're going to take advantage of this opportunity where the province is friendly to the notion, the bottom line is they're going to need public pressure to do something more specific about it other than just state report and have positive meetings with the minister where they refer to their support. If they're going to actively engage as a province like every other marine province in Canada does, they're going to need to get some more pressure to do that. And that's my presentation. That's on to the board next. Okay.